Hey, what's up? I'm Ashley, and we're going to be talking about True Detective Night Country, Season 4, Episode 6, Season Finale. So let's get into it. It's December 31st, the 14th day of night, and Navarro and Liz are making their way into the cave. Navarro decides to go in first to make sure that it's safe. Then Liz goes inside. And right away when they get inside, something is talking to Navarro. She's like, "Can't you feel it? Can't you feel it too?" Liz is ignoring her like she always does. She just says, "Be careful, it's wet." She's not trying to hear any of that. But Navarro is still at it. She's like, "Can't you hear it? It's this way. I know it is. I feel it. It's this way." So Liz is following her through this cave. They don't know where they're going though. They don't know where they're going. But it's okay because Navarro hears something. As they keep walking, they run into this dead end. Then, all of a sudden, Navarro falls right through the cave. Then, just a few seconds later, when Liz is checking on Navarro, she falls right through the cave too. Knocked the wind out of her. So now they're thinking that they're stranded, but then as they look up, there goes Clark. So they start chasing him through the cave, but they can't find him. They couldn't catch up with him, but they did find this secret laboratory in the cave. There is where they find the murder weapon that was used on Annie K. And when they look up at the ceiling is when they find the spiral. And that lets them know that they're standing in the same spot where Annie K was killed. Then Navarro finds this ladder in the laboratory. They're thinking this is where Clark must have went. But look how far they have to go up this ladder. I need a break already. They're climbing up this ladder, and guess where it takes them? To the Salah Station. The Salah Station. This whole time, this ice cave has been underneath the Salah Station. We cut to Peter where he's cleaning up the mess of his dad and Otis. We see him putting the bodies inside of the trunk and taking a shower, trying to wash all that off. Then we get back to the Salah Station with Liz and Navarro, and that Beatles song is playing again, Twist and Shout. And you already know who's trying to run and turn it off. Liz is at it again. But they're in there trying to find Clark. But Clark ends up finding them first. He ends up locking Liz inside of this room. And then when he finds Navarro, he hits her upside the head with the fire extinguisher and knocked her out. But she wasn't knocked out for too long because by the time Liz found something metal to break the glass with to get out that room, Navarro had woken up and was on top of Clark, beating him up. One thing you can count on Navarro to do is beat you up. She will beat somebody up. Almost killed him. Liz had to get her off of him like a little kid. No, Navarro, no, no. Had to get his pulse checked. We need answers first, Navarro. Dang. We get back to Peter, and Leah walks through the door. And when she get in there, she got 21 questions like she 50 Cent or something. Is Liz here? What you doing here? Are you staying here? Peter tells her Liz went out. She says, where? In this? You're cleaning? Is everything okay? What's going on? Girl, please. You've been around your mama too much. Peter had to tell her, please let me drive you back to Kayla's house. I don't want her or Darwin being alone for New Year's Eve. Thankfully, she fell for it. He took her right on over there. We get back to Liz and Navarro where they have duct taped Clark to the chair. Navarro asks him if he loves Annie. He says yeah. Then they play the Annie K video for him. And then they put earphones in his ear and duct tape that to his head to where the earphones couldn't fall out his ears so that he'll be able to hear the Annie K video over and over and over and over again to torture him, and left him in there by himself while they went to the kitchen. We get to where Peter is dropping off Leah, and Kayla is noticing this through the window. She's like, you ain't about to drop her off and leave. So she went out there in the storm and hopped up in the car and was like, where you think you going? She says to him, did Danvers make you do something bad? No, he decided to shoot his dad himself. I wonder how she would feel about that if she knew. But he's telling her, no, I did this myself. I just gotta go and fix this real quick and then I'll come back. I was just surprised to see her kiss him because she's been mad at him the whole season. Navarro opens the refrigerator, and when she opens it, an orange falls out. She picks it up and she starts talking about how her mother used to love oranges and how she used to peel them a certain way. Is that the only reason why we've been seeing oranges this season? Huh? Because your mama love them? I thought we was about to find out something good. But no, it's just because her mama love them. So what that mean? Like every time we saw an orange, her mom's spirit was around, watching over her, trying to show her something? Girl. Then Liz is eating on some Funyuns, and she feels something at the bottom of her foot, and when she goes to pick it up, it's glass. So I'm guessing the glass that was at the bottom of her shoe was the glass from when she broke out of the room that Clark put her in. But the thing is, once she picks up this glass, she starts having a flashback of the car accident scene. And at this point, we're not seeing anything new. We just see the same footsteps that we've seen before in like episode 1. They then go back inside to question Clark. And that's when Clark says that it was my fault. It all started when she found some notes, some scribble that I started writing down. And that's how she was able to piece everything together. He says that they were digging for the DNA of a microorganism contained in the permafrost that could potentially save the world. Liz is like, yeah, everybody know all that already. What else? It doesn't work. Clark tells her, but it could work. We were really close, just no one knew that because the pollution from the mine helped soften the permafrost. The scientists were pushing the mine to produce more pollution. The more waste they would have in the ground and the water, the better the permafrost was for their work. The scientists didn't care about anyone's life out there. They didn't care who they were killing. They didn't care about the people, the animals, nothing. All the stillbirths, all those mothers losing their babies, everybody hallucinating. They just cared about their little experiment. Navarro says, so that's a reason to kill Annie? He's like, no, get this. He tells them she snuck in here one day and she destroyed all of our hard work. She was tearing everything up. She tore it up. So I was asleep and then I wake up because I heard her screaming and I run over there to see what it is. And all the other scientists were jumping her. They jumped her, but not me though. I didn't do nothing. I just watched. Lund was stabbing her with that little star-shaped stick, and they were throwing down in there. They attacked her. They killed her over that experiment, but I didn't do nothing. So then how come when you thought she was dead, you went over there to say, I'm sorry. And when she woke up, you was like, stop. And you put your hands around her neck or her nose or something to kill her. You finished her off. Now that is just, over that little experiment. Y'all didn't have to kill her like that. This just don't make no sense because that video that we've been looking at this whole time of Annie K in that cave, we've been seeing her scared and screaming for her life. And we didn't see that play out in this episode. We just saw her fighting all those men and she put up a good fight. We didn't see her screaming and the phone falling. We didn't see that. We just saw a fight. But you can tell they don't believe him. That's why Navarro pulled out her gun and pointed it at his head. That's when Liz walks out the room. But she does tell Navarro that she's not going to stop her. And then that's when we get the flashback of them at Willer's house. As she's having this flashback, Navarro walks out. She didn't shoot Clark, but she was about to though. And that's when Liz says, you know what? I was just about to do it myself, meaning kill Willer. But Navarro did it first. And this is the first time that we get to see what actually played out in that room. After all this time, finally, we see that after he got done whistling, Navarro shoots him in the head. But after the shot goes off, we hear a baby crying. Now, I wonder what happened to that baby because it doesn't have a mother or a father. So where'd the baby go? Liz says she needs a break. So while she's on break, she decides to eat an orange. And as she's peeling this orange, one falls on the floor, and when she goes to pick it up, that's when she sees the tongue print of Annie's tongue. That nasty, slimy little spot is where Annie K's tongue was. Why was she about to touch it? What was she about to do with that slime? What's wrong with her? Navarro reminds her that they still have a job to do, so break is over. Time up. Get back in there. And this is also where we find out that the power is down. We get this quick shot of this orange peel spiral, and we get back in the room with Clark, Navarro, and Liz, and Clark is telling them that Annie K is the one who killed the scientists. He said he kept hearing and seeing her more, so he knew that she was going to come back. So when we saw him at the station shaking and the lights was blinking and he said she's awake, he was talking about Annie K. After that, we see what happened after he started shaking, which was him running, taking off, and going down into the cave because he knew that she was about to show up, or at least thought she was. She had him shook. Lund saw him running, so he wanted to get down in the cave with Clark, but Clark wouldn't let him in there. He was holding on to the door so that nobody else could get inside. He heard Lund screaming for help, but he didn't care. He didn't care nothing about that, and that's just what he get too. Over there screaming like the little punk that he is. But we find out later just what he was screaming for. Clark tells Navarro and Liz that the only reason why he was looking for Otis is because he wanted to know how to survive Annie K. Liz said, "You tripping. Otis didn't survive Annie. She wasn't even born when he got injured. What's wrong with you?" But Clark is insisting that it was Annie K who killed the scientist. He says she's been hiding in the caves forever, even before she was born, even after we all die. Time is a flat circle and we are all stuck in it. Liz is tired of him. She went to go lay down. And when she walked out, Clark started to beg Navarro. He said, "Please do it. Just do it, or let me do it, please." He's not trying to live no more. He's tired of this. Then we get back to Liz as she gets inside the bed. She starts to touch her head and she's like, What is this in my head? Huh? Why is Navarro's mama's necklace in my hair? What her necklace doing in my hair? These people don't be having a big enough reaction for me. She just looked at it and then held it. But I think in some kind of way they were trying to tell us Liz is coming around to this whole spiritual thing and religious thing, because we get to see so later in the episode. We get this really quick scene of Peter entering the garage and driving over to Rose's house. Then we go back to Liz and she's having a dream about Holden and they're playing that one eye game. They're covering up that one eye, whatever that means. And for the first time we hear Holden in what sounds like distress and he's calling out mommy. I think that was Holden calling out her name during the car accident, but that wakes her up. And when she wakes up, she starts looking for Navarro. She finds her and she says, "What did you do?" Navarro is all nonchalant about it. She's like, "He's dead. He's dead." Clark walked outside in the freezing cold to end himself. He said, "You do it or let me do it," and she let him do it. And Liz is upset. She is livid. She is livid because he was the only witness that they had. She was like, "Did you cut the power too? Did you do that too?" Can't put nothing past Navarro. She want to make sure she's not making it cold in there. Navarro's like, "No, I didn't cut the power off, but I'll go look for a generator." But something seems off with Navarro at this point. When Liz is yelling at her, she's too calm, just too not herself. So I'm wondering, did something take over her body, which is why this ghost is behind her? While Navarro is looking for a generator, there's a ghost behind her. I'm thinking it could be her mother because her mother had on a similar outfit. I'm just surprised no oranges came rolling out like this hubcap did. While Navarro was experiencing something again, Liz was too. This hubcap came rolling out at Liz. I'm like, why did a hubcap come rolling out? And it's because of the accident. We finally get to see a little bit more of what happened, but we don't really get to see a lot. We just see Liz walking up to the scene, and we really just see one car. We don't see Holden, we don't see her husband, we just see her walking with her blanket. While Navarro is trying to fix the generator, something starts whispering Evangeline. Navarro starts walking to try to find out where it's coming from, and as she's walking, it says stop. And when she stops, she turns around, and that's when she sees Clark, where he starts to hyperventilate. And he says, "She's awake." And this is taking us back to the first episode when the lights went out and they went missing. So the spirit, her mother or whoever, for some reason wants her to go back and see that day. Peter gets to Rose's house and he tells her to take me to Julia's location because I have someone who's going there too. Rose just looks at him and says, "It's gonna be one of those nights, isn't it? She's used to this life. It ain't nothing to her." Navarro tells Liz there's something calling her and that there's more out there than just this, and that it could be a comfort and that Julia wasn't wrong. Liz looks at her and says, "I know that was your sister, but she gave up. She quit. She quit. So leave all that alone." Navarro then says to her, "You know, he doesn't really look like you, but there's something in the eyes." Liz is like, "What are you talking about?" Navarro says, Holden. Liz looked at her and said, "You keep my son's name out your mouth. Keep my son's name out your mouth." Navarro was just trying to let her know what Holden wanted her to tell her, and she said, "You shut up. You don't know if he was calling out my name. You don't know if he was scared or stuck in the car. You don't know nothing. Shut up." If you want to do your little ghost thing, your little voodoo, you do that. But you keep my son's name out your mouth. I don't have no mercy. I will rip you apart. We have Leah on the phone trying to contact Liz, but it goes straight to voicemail. She tells Liz to please come home alive. She miss her now. Liz is trying to take a nap. She's tired and she's cold, but she can't seem to get to sleep, so she decides to go look for Navarro. And when she does, she finds Navarro walking outside in the snow in the freezing cold. She's trying to catch up to her, but she's no match for that spirit. Whatever spirit is talking to Navarro has her in a chokehold, so Liz should just stop. Give it up. That girl don't hear you. So while Navarro is walking, she ends up in that same desert place that we've been seeing her in before. And while she's there, she's emotional, she starts crying. Then all of a sudden, someone's hand reaches out to touch hers. I'm not sure who hand this is, but it could probably be her mother's or one of her ancestors. But whoever this is ends up telling her what her name is. And I'm not going to even try to say it because I will butcher it. I could be wrong, but I think the reason why Navarro was taken here is because she was close to death. I think this was her close to crossing over because of how cold it is. But then maybe in some way, whoever this is talking to her, telling her her name, lets her know that it isn't her time. I think it's the same thing with Liz because as she's trying to catch up with Navarro, she thinks she sees her son Holden in the ice, so she gets down on her knees and she starts hitting the ice to try to get Holden out the water. But Holden not there, girl. Holden is not there. And that's when she falls through the ice. Just when it looks like she's about to die and tap out, Navarro pulls her out the water. Liz is in bad shape. She looking bad. We get this flashback of her at the car accident scene. And we also get this flashback of Liz with her husband and her son. I think during this moment, she was close to death, but her seeing Holden made her push through. Because look at her. She was tore up. Who could survive that? It was already cold. Then she fell in the water. The water. After this is when Liz asked Navarro, what did Holden say to her? Navarro lets her know that Holden said, I see you, and she covered one of Liz's eyes. Now this will sound crazy, but did Holden get reincarnated as a polar bear? Because the polar bear has one eye. How did the polar bear get one eye? Holden and Liz used to play this game about covering an eye. So what if that polar bear is Holden walking around the town? And that could have been Holden when Liz crashed the car. And that's why the bear didn't do anything, because he was just watching over his mom. And the reason why Navarro saw him when she was driving is because the bear wanted Navarro to tell his mom, I see you. Let me know what you think about that. We see Peter breaking the ice, preparing to put his dad inside of it. Then Rose tells Peter not to look while she prepares the body to not be able to float in the water. Rose then tells him to finish what he started so that the door can be closed. Meaning, you're going to be the one to dump your dad's body in the water. Not me, you. After he dumped him in the water, the day had changed to January 1st, which is the 15th day of night. And that's when Rose tells him this isn't the worst part, and that the worst part comes after. The storm is now over, and Liz wishes Navarro a Happy New Year. Liz brings up to Navarro that time Navarro said something about walking into the distance and disappearing, and Liz lets her know that if she ever decides to do that, to always come back. And remember this once we get to the end of the video. Then Navarro brings up Clark and him hiding and holding on to the hatch. And this gives Liz an idea to check the fingerprints on the hatch. She ends up using liquid chemicals to find out whose fingerprints was last on the hatch. And it's missing 2 fingers, just like the picture that we saw in the previous episode when 2 fingers were missing there too. And guess who's missing 2 fingers? Blair. So since the storm is over, Navarro and Liz head over to Beatrice's house where Blair is staying at. And when they get to the door, Navarro introduces herself with her name, her full name, since she finally found out what it was. We found out that her name means the return of the sun after a long darkness. Once they get inside, they tell Liz and Navarro that the scientists killed Annie K, and that for the last 6 years they thought it was the town, but now they understand. We cut to Beatrice at the station cleaning, and we see how she discovered the secret lab. She found the star-shaped weapon that Annie K was stabbed with. I guess she put 2 and 2 together because the people in the town has been talking and she knows how Annie was killed, so she's like, this is the weapon right here. Especially after seeing these pictures, because then we see another one of the cleaning ladies taking pictures of Annie K's file. They tell Navarro and Liz that the reason why they didn't go to the police is because this would have changed nothing. Then we cut to the women entering the Salah station. They ran up in there. They had their weapons ready. The scientists never stood a chance. And the scientists don't know what's going on, but they do know. They're scared though. Good. We even see Clark running and holding on to that hatch and letting nobody else in. And we see that it was Blair who tried to open the hatch, and that's how her fingerprints got on there and how she was able to be found. Navarro asked, "Did you kill the scientists?" And Beatrice said they killed themselves after digging into her home in the ice and killed her daughter and woke her. I'm not sure, but she could be talking about Sedna, since Sedna is the goddess of the sea, and the scientist was polluting all this water, trying to do their little experiment. So this is why she's probably saying that the scientist killed her daughter. But we see that they made the scientists go outside and take off all their clothes. They made the scientists get naked and had them walk into the distance. She tells Navarro and Liz she wasn't the one that killed them because, yeah, they took their clothes off, but she left them right there. They could have went back and got them, but they didn't. But instead, she wanted to take them. So I'm guessing she's talking about Sedna. Maybe her daughter wanted to take them, but she said she's not guilty. She's not guilty at all. We also got to see how Lund got the spiral on his head. They drew it on there. After they tell Navarro and Liz this story, they all stand up and say, "What it's gonna be? You gonna take us in? You gonna arrest us? Or what? What you gonna do?" Navarro tells them stories are stories, so they getting off the hook. Rightfully. Liz tells them that the case is closed anyway and that the forensics report came back and that it was determined that the scientists died by an avalanche. A natural disaster. Look at that. And yeah, they probably could reopen up the case since they all just confessed, but Liz don't care. The scientists got what they deserved, and she know it. And remember how she admitted that she was about to kill Willer and how she wasn't about to stop Navarro from killing Clark. She just walked out, so she wasn't about to arrest these women. And we know Navarro wasn't going to arrest them because she cares about women who get hurt. Before leaving, Navarro says, "What about Annie K's tongue?" Beatrice says, "I don't know anything about that. That's not a part of our story." So who cut out the tongue and put the tongue underneath the table? We cut to 5 months later, which is May 12th. The first long day of the year. And we see Liz getting questioned about what happened to Hank. She says that it's an ongoing investigation since Hank is the one who killed Otis. She says Hank was seen on camera following me and Otis, and that Hank must have killed Otis after Liz questioned him. She tells them that she thinks it was a deal gone wrong and that Hank must have had some sort of an accident while in the storm. She says, "Don't worry about it. We'll find him unless we don't." We see Liz at Navarro's house, but Navarro isn't there, but the bear is that Liz threw out. Then we get this really quick scene to let us know that Navarro gave Kavik his toothbrush back. Then we cut to Navarro just walking out into the snow. Where's she going? Where she thinks she going? I wish they would have showed us. Then we go back to Liz and we see that Navarro left a phone underneath the bear that had Clark's confession about what him and the rest of the scientists did to Annie K and polluting the water, and about all the effects that it had on the people in the mine and all of that. Then we see that the mine has been shut down and we see the man that we see in the first episode. What he doing there? We see Liz telling the investigators that this town was here long before the mine and it will be here long after. We see that Liz and Leah have a better relationship. They're getting along, they're laughing in the car, eating on a sandwich, and if you notice, Leah has the markings on her face and Liz seems to accept this. Peter seems to be back at home. I just wonder how good him and Kayla are since we don't see her. But Peter doesn't really look too happy. We see Liz telling investigators that she doesn't know where Navarro is, but she can guarantee them that they will not find her body out on the ice. And I think she's saying this because she knows that Navarro isn't dead. Because in the last scene, investigators are asking about the sightings of Navarro. People have been supposedly seeing her out there. Liz replies with, "Well, this is Ennis. No one ever really leaves," meaning all the spirits. And then we see Navarro appear on the balcony with Liz. I believe that Navarro is alive and well and that this isn't a ghost or a spirit or anything. This is her in the flesh. Because remember, when they were back at the station and Liz made Navarro promise that if she ever decided to walk out there on the ice, that she would come back. And I think she may have done it a few times due to all of the sightings of Navarro. I'm not sure why Navarro doesn't want to be seen and have people thinking that maybe she's not alive out there, but I don't blame her. Sometimes you just need a break. But let me know down in the comments if you want to see more of a detailed video, because this was just more of a recap. Wish this season was longer, but it is what it is. Still have fun anyway. But don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one.